life goes on, long after the days of living are gone.
Hey friends, it's your man PJ, back again for Word with Friends. Today, we're going to wrap up our study of this passage found in Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus is redefining what it looks like to have a good life and who gets to have it. Again, we're going to be wrapping up with these blessed statements, and blessed again means that at peace within and having contentment. Part of that blessing is in the fact that the kingdom of God has a spot in it for you. And if you allow it, His grace and His blessing will come in a tangible way to impact you and your life. Continuing with the text in Matthew chapter 5, this is what Jesus says. Okay. Peacemakers, kind of annoying. Really? They're annoying people. They're always the person in the middle or in between. It's also an annoying place to be. Most people are bent to want others to choose a side, if you will, when it comes to having an argument. We're like, but I'm correct, right? But the peacemaker doesn't tell you that you're right. But the peacemaker, he always says something like, hey, how do we get you guys to come back together and get you guys to stop fighting? We need to get to that kumbaya cut. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, shut up! I'm right, aren't I? You need to be with me. That's what we want. Peacemakers are always in the middle, and they don't get a lot of respect because of that. It's like, oh, he's a peacemaker. Isn't that awesome? He's a pain in the back, but that's great. This peacemaker guy, he's never going to be on anyone's team. And in the final analysis, he's always going to take the middle ground. Now, I'm a guy, I enjoy a spirited argument. At times, just for the sake of making people think. Alright, for real though, who am I kidding? Truth is, I like to be contrary. Well, you can imagine that I run across these kind of people that like to keep the peace. They drive me nuts. Shut up! Kind of annoying. They're annoying people. Peacemakers are often seen as misunderstood, whacked out kind of weird people. And often they are weird and other. But you know, that's okay. Because we need them. Because they jerk us out of our box and they cause us to think. In our culture, peacemakers are an enigma. I mean, they are fun to observe, but not a guy most of us want to be. Jesus says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of God. He's saying, in my kingdom, you aren't going to be the weird dude with the dreadlocks and the soft speech. I'm going to say, that is my son. Because you share, you peacemaker, I'm talking to you, peacemaker, you share the DNA of God's heart of peace. In our world, he's a crazy activist, but in the kingdom of God, he's a son. Lastly, Jesus says, our culture is kind of a culture of ideas. Talk about what we think it means to follow Jesus and if Jesus is right for me or not. And we can decide, yes, I'm going to follow Jesus, and others, they're interested in seeing what that's all about. Truth is, there aren't any real consequences over a decision for Christ here in America. You probably aren't going to be shunned by your classmates. You probably won't lose your job. You won't likely be beat up for that decision. However, in many cultures, when you choose to follow Christ, persecution is a real result. I know from my experiences that I could be in a situation with people who knew me when, like people I grew up with or went to school with or used to get in trouble with. You know what I'm talking about. And after I decided to answer the calling that was on my life, I was treated differently in certain situations. At times people would laughingly ask me to read a verse or offer a prayer, or just very mocking kind of things. And That is not the kind of persecution that I believe that Jesus is talking about. But rather, people are being stoned to death for their faith in many places today, right now, as I speak. Not just getting made fun of. And I know that the conversation was like, Jimmy? Oh, he's lost his mind. He's living in a Bible Belt somewhere in the sticks, living with Jesus. He's flipped. There can be that sense that, yes, I want to follow Jesus, but at the end of the day, you're kind of left in this weird no man's land. There are people all over the world who suffer greatly for their faith, not just become alienated by former friends, associates, or even family. These people end up in prison. They end up tortured. They end up raped. They end up abused and often killed. All they have to do, though, is simply say, I disown Jesus. I don't want that kingdom. You know, just to take a little rabbit trail, I gotta admit that I chuckle a little when I see the Jesus is Lord bumper sticker. Let me explain. It's laughable to me because the origins of that declaration look drastically different than they do now. When that phrase was coined, it came at a cost and often with an ultimate sacrifice. You were saying when you said Jesus is Lord is that the king was not your king and you were seen as treasonous. Think about that. What do we still do to people who commit treason? Like I was saying though, all these people that are persecuted have to do is disown the kingdom of God, and the door to the prison flies open. They won't do it though. So the question becomes, why? Why won't they do it? That isn't a good place to be. If you're arrested for your faith and thrown into a prison and subjected to torture, I suspect that you don't feel very blessed. But you are blessed. Because in that place, when you talk to those people, they will tell you, all that I have is Christ, and He is sufficient. I have the kingdom of heaven, and we find ourselves back to where we started. Jesus is taking these two extremes. The zero spiritual guy, you know, the guy that's on E from a spiritual wealth sense, and then you get the kingdom of heaven. We have a zealous missionary. He gets the kingdom of heaven. And at the end of the day, both of these don't really have a lot to hope for. But in His kingdom, when they choose Him, they have everything that they need. They have the good life. You and I find ourselves there as well, because this is not an exhaustive listing. Fact is, it's a list that can easily be added to. If Jesus were here today, speaking to us as He did then, He'd likely say something like, blessed are you that are not attractive. Now, pause. You know, that sounds like it might be a joke, but when you think about it, if you aren't so attractive, you probably want to be attractive. Blessed are you that are broke. Blessed are you that have lost all your hair. Blessed are you that don't have good jobs. Blessed are you who are addicted. Blessed are you who are disabled. Blessed are you who are single and you're sad in that place. Blessed are you, for yours is the kingdom of heaven. In this world, those things may very well marginalize you and make you something less than you desire to be or to feel. Jesus is saying, in my kingdom, I notice you, I care about you, and my kingdom is open to you all. I have a spot specifically for you. So the question becomes, will you believe it? More than that, will you go after it? Saints and searchers, be blessed. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you tuning in today. Look for me again in a few days for more Word with Friends. Don't forget to subscribe and or tell a friend. Don't forget, guys, study to show yourself approved. I'll see you next time. Holla!
Holla, holla, holla. Life goes on, long after the days are living on gone. Holla, holla, holla. Life goes on, long